It's just incredible when you start going through the dates, and maybe just take us back to some of these dates, 1965, 1967, 1990, where these events, and when you do it, it's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. And again, the beautiful thing about your work in Plandemic 2 is that there was no emotion, there was no opinion, it was all facts. It was published documents where you can literally show, and as you walk us right up to '02 and right us up to 2020, you literally have specific mentions about exactly what's going to happen that document what you just said. Because a lot of people will hear what you just said and be like, okay, here's another one who's making these claims. But you can document every single thing you're saying.
Well, and not only can I, in the EU Parliament speech, I actually put every single reference in. There's not a single thing I said that's not referenced with the source document behind it. So you can read it, do it yourself. Go read it, read the document, and draw a different conclusion. But let's go back to 1965 because it's important to do this. And remember that 1965 is only a few years, less than 2 decades, from when we even had the idea of what DNA and RNA even were. Remember, it's 1953 that we figure out DNA. So, when I talk about 1965, we're talking about a 12-year-old technology that we don't even understand, where researchers in the United States started guessing that this thing that they decided to call coronavirus was interesting because they actually saw it associated with people that had various kinds of colds and influenza-like illness and so forth. And they also found out that you could play around with it and get it to change its targets really quickly, which is a really interesting kind of, is that a good thing to know? Or is it a bad thing to know? It sounds like gain of function research. But what happened between 1965 and 1967 was a violation of, at that time in the UK, Nuremberg standards, and in the United States, a violation of our biological and chemical weapons laws dictated in Section 18 of the U.S. Code. What specifically we did was we took what was allegedly pathogen samples from the United States, and in 1967 and in 1968, we infected Britons who were healthy. Just let that chill just for a minute, like a rosé on a hot summer afternoon, right? That's a, oh my God, what did you just say? I said it. We broke the law. We knew that we had something that made people sick. We shipped it from the United States to the United Kingdom, and the United Kingdom infected British citizens with a U.S. pathogen, allegedly to see if we could do it. Now, by the way, in 1967 and 1968, nobody in Great Britain was sitting there going, I wonder if we've got a treatment for it. They were first trying to see if they could infect people with the thing, right? That's kind of an important point to make, because the waiver of biological and chemical weapons laws in the United States and the waiver of the Nuremberg standards in the UK are based on whether you're doing research for the purpose of benefiting therapies, not seeing if you can infect people. And this is one of those little nuances that if anybody bothered to read the law, they'd go, oh my God, what he's saying is actually true. We can research for the purpose of treatment, but we cannot research for the purpose of going, what if we can take a biologic sample from the United States and make people in the UK sick? And that's 1967, 1968. That's not kind of, a couple weeks before COVID. That's before most of us were born. Not me, not you, but most of the people who are watching. This is before you. And what's important about that is if you go back and you look at the research, and this was primarily the United States and the UK, primarily throughout the 70s, going into the early 80s, what they found was that this crazy thing that they had labeled coronavirus was engineerable to all sorts of specifications. You could make people sick. You could target different tissue. It was kind of a Darwin's grab bag of what you could do with the thing. And then in the 1980s, farmers, and specifically farmers of pigs and breeders of dogs, started realizing that this coronavirus thing that they were talking about was associated with gastroenteritis in little baby pigs and little baby dogs. And so there was a move in the 80s to see if there was a way to come up with a vaccine. And in 1990, a company that none of us have ever heard of, might start with a P, might be followed by another consonant, but a company that allegedly was, a master of no expertise at all in coronavirus, decided to patent a vaccine. And what's important about the vaccine that Pfizer patented in 1990 was it was RNA for the spike protein. So when I hear somebody come along and tell me that they had Operation Warp Speed, this rapid discovery of the way we're going to inject people in 2020, I sit back and go, warp speed. That only took 30 years of failed trial after failed trial after failed trial, which included as recently as 2018, a series of publications that said coronavirus and the vaccine concept cannot coexist. And they cannot coexist because the coronavirus model had been so manipulated, so contorted, so subject to gain-of-function research that you could never get a vaccine to immunize a population against infection with this thing. It would have never been possible. And by the way, for everybody who does the follow the science mantra, the science unambiguously says in thousands of publications, proceedings, and patents, vaccines do not work on coronavirus. That is the science. And by the way, nothing about COVID-19 has changed the science, because we now know that every injection that was ever given to anybody failed to stop infection or transmission at all. So my little observation about the 30-year scientific history is unfortunately backed up by the fact that even this go round, we haven't been able to immunize the population against anything. And so, Brian, the point of all of this legacy is that it was 30 years and it was Pfizer. It wasn't another company. It wasn't GlaxoSmithKline. It wasn't Sanofi Aventis. It wasn't those. It was Pfizer who had a mandate from what became World Health Organization, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Gavi, the NIAID, all of the DARPA funding. Pfizer was the lead horse in the race because they, in fact, owned the race. So is it a surprise that Pfizer is allegedly a dark horse in 2020 that comes out with this instantaneous ability to respond to something that they had 30 years of failed trials to produce and never once succeeded? These are things where, unfortunately, the evidence is self-evident.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, do you want to profit from crypto? Then join my DeFi Academy. The Crypto DeFi Academy will help you create generational wealth. But don't take my word for it. Listen to my students.
When I first got into crypto, I remember thinking to myself, I need to learn more. Brian Rose, learning crypto, learning DeFi, gotta do it.
I am so grateful that I jumped in and did this. I had to break through some limiting beliefs that I can do this, that I can afford this, that I can be in this.
It challenges the things that are deeply rooted within us.
Joining DeFi Academy has been one of the best decisions I have made on my blockchain journey.
This course was a life changer, a game changer, a huge eye-opener, coming from knowing practically nothing at the speed of the learning over 4 weeks was just fantastic.
The information you provided in this class was invaluable.
I feel far more confident in my next steps.
You took complex concepts and made them easier to understand.
What's different than so many other ones is it just doesn't tell you what to do. It actually makes you do it.
This is for people who are serious about becoming traders. This is the way it should be done.
I realized from this learning experience again that it is not about what you learn, but about who you learn it from.
The energy was insane. I've never experienced such incredible energy on a live call. Brian Rose, you are a legend, my friend.
It's the only thing in the market where you can get all information and learn everything what you need to know.
Everything is so clear and so well done, and I'm just forever grateful for this program.
It made me feel so much more confident about crypto than I did before.
I did not anticipate how passionate I was going to become about it.
This course has been like a big learning experience for me, not just in the crypto space, but just an overall balance of life.
What I've learned is, how to take ownership, of my life in a way that I really hadn't before.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that, really.
I would recommend it to anybody, top notch.
Excellence does not come cheap. So if you want excellence, you gotta pay for it, but it's so worth it.
Pull the trigger. That's what this course is about.
You're not going to regret it, really. It's amazing.
Thank you, Brian and team.
So what are you waiting for? Crypto is happening now. Click the link below, submit your application, and let me mentor you on how to create generational wealth and build the decentralized financial infrastructure of the future.